No fluff, no trends. Kate and I have coached women for the last 7 years, and we want to share what we think is actually worth your time and bring you some honest, valuable fitness advice that you can take away from this episode and action straight away.
I reckon between us, we've coached 2,000 plus women. We've also been on social media for a really, really long time. So we've seen all of the trends come and all of the trends go. And the first point that I'm going to start off with is any diet will work. You just need to be in a calorie deficit. And that is the cold, hard, brutal, honest truth. Because every single diet that you see, whether it's the likes of keto, paleo, carnivore, intermittent fasting, all of those just have a really good way of sneakily putting you into a calorie deficit. And I want to use intermittent fasting as an example here. So let's talk about that for a little bit. If intermittent fasting is essentially where you're closing your feeding window, so you don't have enough hours in the day to eat enough food, what is that doing? Putting you into an unintentional calorie deficit. That is why you're getting the fat loss results, and that's why you bang on about it as the best tool for fat loss. The best tool for fat loss is being in a calorie deficit. That is how it works. We know in order to achieve fat loss and for fat loss to occur, you need to put your body into a negative energy state where you are consuming less and moving more. Any which way you decide to do that, you are going to get the result. So I don't believe that there is any diet, I say in quotation, that is superior to any other diet. It's what works best for you and what you can, hand on your heart, say you can commit to for the long term. Now, when I say commit to the long term, I'm not saying dieting forever, but I'm saying the type of diet that you decide to run with, just say it's carnivore, just say it's keto, just say it's, eating whole foods 80-20. What can you hand on your heart say, I will do this for the rest of my life? Because when I look at health and fitness, and we've coached so many women for such a long period of time, it is never about the quick fix. It is always about changing your lifestyle and making that be able to have longevity and have sustainability so you don't find yourself yo-yoing back and forth or feeling stuck like nothing is working.
And I want to add to the diet comment because I think that we see different things when we are unhappy with where we're at and we want change and we want results yesterday. And when we jump to these different diets that are trending or these different things that people are following, and again, it's just coming down to how is it putting you in a calorie deficit. If you go through that cycle of following the different thing and your results are not sticking, it's because that what you're following is not something sustainable or it's just not something that you can actually just keep up long term, right? So beyond just a calorie deficit, when we think of a diet, I would want you to take it's going to sound a bit boring, but take the longer approach, the longer term approach, the educated approach. That's what's going to actually allow you to know, what do I actually need to eat to maintain these results? What can I actually enjoy doing and continue to do?
Sorry, I cut you off, but it's the only way that it's ever going to work. Like, you guys need to understand that is like, you can do the fancy shit. Like, you can do the keto, you can do, the carnivore diet. And I'm not saying that these diets are innately bad, but you can't sustain them forever. So then what usually happens is when you stop doing carnivore, or you stop doing keto, or you stop intermittent fasting, you go straight back to your old patterns, habits, and behaviors because you've learned nothing in the long run. You know nothing about nutrition. You don't have any more education to help you longer term. And then you constantly yo-yo back and forth. And that's what you want to avoid. Like, when I look at living a healthy lifestyle, I look at not worrying about the fucking calories on the back of a packet all the time. I look at not tracking my macros and tracking my calories all the time. I look at not worrying about, I can't eat that because it's got this in it and that in it, based from a lens of always wanting to lose weight. You want to be able to have a non-restricted lifestyle as well, and doing something that is sustainable long-term is going to be your best bet.
Yep. The next point I want to jump into is supplements are not going to save a shit lifestyle. They're just going to mask it. So when we see the fat burner, or let's just say supplementing anything because it's such a big industry, right? It can be in our minds, we're thinking, okay, this is what I need for the edge, or this is what I need to get better results. But the issue is your lifestyle is like the crux of the results that you have. I like to think of it visually as like a pyramid. And the bottom of this pyramid, that foundation needs to be strong. So if that foundation doesn't have your 7 to 9 hours of sleep, the consistent structured training routine, a decent amount of daily movement, a nutrient-rich whole food diet, if we don't have this, why are we bothering buying an $80 greens powder? Why are we bothering buying, little gimmicks here and there if we don't have a solid foundation? I like to think that before ever investing in any of those things, because they definitely have their place, right? Before doing anything, we need to make sure we have that strong foundation, and we need to only view that as having like a 1% difference, because at the end of the day, it does. And something I think the fitness girlies can get sucked into, and I have as well, has been thinking and worrying too much about like pre-workout and this and that. But it's like your sleep habits are going to be far more beneficial to work on than spending money and wasting money on these things. They're not actually going to make you feel any better in the long term. So it's not as fun, it's not as sexy, but those lifestyle habits are going to make you feel really good. And it's not that you need to reach for or purchase a new thing, it's that you need to work within.
Yeah. And I want to add to that as well. It's like the quick fix is never a quick fix. It always just ends up being like a merry-go-round. It's like, yeah, cool, you might get a slight result and you think you're on track, but then, you stop doing X, Y, and Z and nothing happens. So I think it is really important before you just go for the shiny objects. So, the fancy greens powders or the fat burners or the skinny me teas or whatever the thing is, that you actually look at, what is my lifestyle like? And I agree with that. It's like it starts at the bottom. It's like if you're going to build a house, like the pyramid that you said, if you're going to build a house, you've got to have a solid foundation. You don't want it to be cracked. And then just put little greens powders in the cracks to hope it fills. It's never going to work.
Yeah. The next point I want to get into is if you constantly feel shit, you're a training gym girly and you constantly feel shit and you constantly have low energy and you're always in a poor mood, I want you to look at nutrition first, because it's likely that you're under eating. And if you have always done classes or if you always kind of done lower calories and things like that, you don't actually know how good you could feel if you fueled yourself properly. And this is a whole kettle of worms that I'm not going to get into in this episode. I just want to make that general statement because I think that sometimes we can be focusing on the wrong things. And if you want to seriously grow your glutes, if you want to seriously get stronger, you can't just train your way there. That's one part of it. Your nutrition is a massive part. And I really need you to think of fueling your body and building you need that, again, the foundation, the bricks, the fuel to get you there. So I would make sure you're auditing your energy levels, your training performance, your mood. And if they are always low, or maybe you've dieted for a long time and you're like, well, I can't keep doing this, food is the thing that's going to improve all of those things.
Yeah.
So it's really important that you don't live in a dieting phase, you don't live in a deficit, and that the goal for the most part is to be in maintenance most of the year.
Yeah.
So that's where you're going to thrive.
I agree. And I want to just add a little caveat to that as well of like, if you have found that you are plateauing in your weight loss, it's probably because you have been under eating for a period of time and you need to spend more time in a maintenance or surplus phase. Now, this is going to be different for everybody's goals, but it's really important. I see a lot of women go, I've been trying to lose the last 10 kilos and nothing seems to be working. It's like, well, how much are you eating? 1,200 calories. Oh, that's why. Because what happens is your body is very, very adaptable. So it is going to adapt to the amount of food that it is given, meaning that if you are eating 1,200 calories for majority of the year, that is now your new normal. That's your maintenance. Your body is not going to lose weight or gain any weight or lose fat or gain any fat. And it's really important that if you want to then move into a calorie deficit there, you are actually on dangerously low calories, which to me, it's just not going to happen. So increasing your calories, eating more food, spending more time during the year outside of a deficit is going to get you way quicker results than you can ever experience. And a lot of the time you'll actually notice when you increase your food, you'll probably actually drop weight as well because you're giving your body more energy in abundance and it can expel more energy in abundance, right? Very, very important. My next point is balance. Balance does not mean not having any levels of discipline. And I think it's really important that when you are going in with any sort of health and fitness goal, now it doesn't need to be a weight loss goal. It could just be getting into the gym and getting stronger or just wanting to implement some health and fitness and good habits into your lifestyle, you need to be able to look at, okay, cool, I want to have balance. I want to be going out on the weekends. I want to be doing these things, but what does need to change in order for you to change your lifestyle? So for example, if you're the girlie who goes out every weekend and you're drinking Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, you're having a glass of wine with dinner, it's like, cool, we can have the balance of socializing, but should we be drinking a lot of alcohol Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Or could we just limit that to, one day a week where we go out and drink? So having the balance in terms of, yes, you can still eat all of the foods that you love. You can still go out with your friends. You don't have to skip social occasions because you have to go to the gym or whatever. But you also need to be able to flex some discipline if you're working towards a goal. So for example, if you are the person who goes out all of the time, instead of doing it 3 nights a week, strip it back down to 1.
Yep. The next point I want to go into is just purely gym related, which is there is a difference between just training and working out. Or the other way around. There's a difference between just working out and structured training, right? And I've learned this myself. I'm sure you've learned it as well. I see women all the time have this revelation once they start structured strength training with me or with you, right? And it's because we exercise and we think, surely this is enough. And it is enough to a point.
Yep.
Anything is amazing. Going from 0 to a class is amazing. But if you reach a point where you are not getting more results or you're not getting the level of change that you're expecting, it's going to be because of the fundamentals, which is consistently following a structured training program, applying progressive overload. It's going to be learning the skill of training with intensity because it is a skill. We don't just magically know what it looks like to really push ourselves hard in the gym. That's something you learn that takes time. So that's another fundamental. And having good form and learning what that actually means so you can get the most out of the time at the gym. So those are the things that I think I see the biggest changes with when I work with someone is understanding that difference between if you have come from this, say, class background, it's so common where you're always exercising. You're like, I'm working out all the time, but my glutes aren't growing, or I'm doing all of this stuff, but I'm not seeing the changes I want. It's not that you need to do more. It's that you need more strategy and it's that you need more intention behind what you're doing. You would be far better served to train 3 to 4 structured training sessions a week and have a really solid diet in comparison to doing a double session a day at the gym and you're just kind of rocking up to a class and doing a random thing here, random thing there. There's just no rhyme and reason behind what you're doing. And I know and I understand why. I've done this. I used to do double sessions. I used to do cardio and strength training in the same day because I thought surely more means better, but it doesn't. And if you can redirect that energy into what actually matters, you will see far better results a lot quicker.
I think a lot of people actually luck out on getting the results they desire because they don't know how to train with intensity or with intention. And I think it is really important when you're, working towards a goal or just wanting to build routine is to have structure, right? If you're winging it, how are you ever going to build routine? You're not. Because every time you go into the gym, you're going to waste time walking around, not knowing what to do. Things are going to feel overwhelming and it's a lot easier to avoid than it is to just go, cool, I know exactly what I'm doing. I open up my app every day. I know that I need to do this exercise, this exercise. Last week I lifted this weight. Cool, this week I'm going to lift this weight. And you actually start to see the growth and progression, not only in your strength, but also in, your glutes or your muscles or whatever you're trying to achieve. So moving from the mindset of like exercising and moving my body to I'm actually going to the gym to train and follow something structured is going to be an absolute game changer. The next thing I want to kind of mention here is motivation is only going to get you so far, right? And a lot of the time people, when they get into their health and fitness, they ride the wave of motivation, which I think is great to start. You're probably going to need to pull a little bit of motivation from somewhere to finally make, the decision to either work with a coach or start going to the gym or doing your Pilates or whatever the thing is. But you cannot rely on motivation forever because it is a fleeting emotion. I don't wake up every day feeling motivated. I don't wake up every day going, oh my God, I'm so excited to get out of bed where it's freezing cold in Melbourne, it's pissing down with rain to go out for a walk. But I always will look at, okay, can I flex my discipline muscle a little bit because I have a goal that I want to achieve. I have a lifestyle that I want to live. I am becoming a woman that I want to become, who is a person who follows through in their word and doesn't make excuses and shows up for themselves. And that is not going to be, oh, I don't feel very motivated today. It's going to be, no, I set myself a goal and I'm going to follow through on the plan and the action and the things that I'm wanting to do to achieve that goal. So I think it's very important having a little bit of motivation at the start, but knowing that motivation is the thing that as soon as it dips, you're going to want to tap out, right? Yeah. How many times do I hear women say to me, oh my God, I'm feeling so unmotivated. I'm just not really motivated this week. I just don't feel motivated. It's like, great, no one feels motivated all the time, but it's time to learn how to become a little bit more disciplined, show yourself a little bit more self-respect, and actually show up true to your word and follow through on the shit that you say you want to do, because in the long run, that's the thing that's going to get you where you want to be.
Yep. I also think that the fastest way to build confidence is to have that self-trust that you can do things that you don't necessarily feel like doing, knowing that it will pay off. I think that when you do the opposite, like you only show up when you feel a certain way, you're setting yourself up for failure in life, because you can't only work when you feel like it, and you can't only, follow through with commitments when you feel like it. It has to be this continuous state. And we both go through periods where we feel less motivated. You said recently you went through a period where you didn't feel motivated for a longer period. I've also felt that way. And when I'm in that phase of feeling not as motivated, I'm not completely reinventing the wheel and changing everything, because I know that that is not going to get me the long-term result that I want, right? So what I do during those periods is I just lean into the routine, the knowing that I always feel better after a session, the self-trust of being like, no, I'm the kind of person who follows through with what they say they're going to do. And also the evidence that I've created in the past of these phases will come and go. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with you if you feel less or more motivated. And anybody that you look up to or aspire to, I promise you that they have achieved the business or they have achieved the physique that they have, not by only showing up when they're motivated, by showing up consistently despite wavering levels of motivation.
And not get like when you feel bored, this is also another thing. Sorry, this is just random, just chucking it in as a little extra. When you get bored, not going, oh, I'm so bored, I'm not motivated, I'm going to do something completely different. Because then all you do is you stop, start. And I see this happen all the time. It's like people get bored with weight training, so they go from weight training to Pilates. Then they get bored with Pilates because they don't get the results that they want. And then they go back to weight training, but then they feel weak in weight training and they feel like they're almost starting again. Or they get bored with weight training, so they become a runner. Then they get injured when they're running because they stop weight training and they would really work better coincided hand in hand, and then they start weight training again and they feel weak again. And it's this constant chasing of the same, you're kind of chasing the same, you're staying in the same place, but you're trying to get a different result, if that makes sense. I don't know, I butchered that, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. So it's like, instead of you just going, okay, cool, I'm going to get bored and go to something completely different, it's like, could you just be okay with being bored for a couple of months? I spent 12 whole months last year of hating going to the gym. I was bored. It was boring. I was unmotivated. But the thing that I'm incredibly good at is being disciplined and following through on my word. So that is what I tapped into. Exactly what you said. It's like I know the evidence behind me of the things that I've achieved is just doing things over and over and over again, because that is the stuff that gets the results. And that is also the way that you build deeper self-trust. That's also the way that you build, you challenge yourself mentally, and all of that is really, really great.
Yep. My biggest takeaway from that is just don't chase novelty when it comes to training, because it's not going to be the thing that pays off. Consistency, despite, like we've said, motivation is going to be the thing that keeps moving you forward, and you don't need to be motivated all the time to get great results. So that's what I wanted to summarize the training up with.
Yeah. I also, sorry, one more thing, because the girl just is on a roll. It's also like, when you go to the training and like people say, oh, my training program's so boring. It's like, yeah, you're going to be doing an RDL for the rest of your life, hun. You're going to be squatting probably for the rest of your life in some variation. You're going to be using the leg press. Like, stop trying to just reinvent and make up all of this shit so it feels like new and exciting. It's like, if you look back at like bodybuilding 20 years ago, they're doing the same exercises that we're doing today because it works. So could you be okay with just being a little bit bored in your training but continue to push through?
Yep. And now I have but you've inspired me with the yapping.
There we go.
The last thing I wanted to say with training is just because something is novel and new doesn't mean that it's superior to what we know works. So say you see someone doing a hybrid movement of some sort, let's just say a lunge into a bicep curl. Yes, that might be really novel and different. Novel and different and like exciting, but that's actually not a great exercise for maxing out your lunges or doing bicep curls, even though it's novel and fun. So just try not to get caught up in, that's fancy and like different, and just know that the basics work for a reason. And
if anyone listening ever sees someone doing a lunge into a bicep curl, you need to arrest them and take them straight to jail. They do not get a get out of free jail card. Goodbye. Arrested forever.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you related to any of these points and you thought, that's me, I need to change something, let us know in the comments. Send this to your gym bestie, tag us on your hot girl walk, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.